All right, welcome to an episode of the Together LA video podcast. And here today we have, I'm not sure how to best describe it. Entrepreneur extraordinaire, publisher. She's involved in politics. She's teaching. She's writing books. Eunice Kang, welcome.
Hi, thank you so much for having me, Tommy. It's a pleasure.
Now, Eunice, as we're talking here, where's home for you? What neighborhood in California, Los Angeles do you live in?
I am from Torrance, California, where it's very sunny, 24 hours a day. 7 days a week, all throughout, the year.
What does life look like right now in this COVID-19 lifestyle? I know you have 2 kids at home. Is your husband working at home? How's life over now?
Yes, my husband, he is a frontline doctor right now. And so he is working at COVID centers.
Okay.
So he's dealing with that. I am homeschooling my kids, 6 and 3 years old, now that all the schools are closed. Yeah. So it's been crazy doing that. I'm also teaching online classes. I'm a professor at a local community college. And so that was supposed to be in-person classes. Yeah. But with COVID, we had to quickly transition and pivot over to online teaching. So that's been really interesting doing all that.
Now, Eunice, how do you balance between a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old homeschooling, probably making sure that they have lunch and dinner, yes, and then from that point on writing a book?
A lot of dishes, a lot of dirty dishes, a lot of cooking, a lot of trash.
Now, are all of you guys at the kitchen table all working, doing your own thing, and then you assign them work and you just sit there?
Yes, we do get papers, worksheets from our teacher, from the kindergarten teacher. And so from, let's say, 9 o'clock, we're eating breakfast, we're doing work, and we try to work until maybe 12 noon. We kind of slip in, we transitioned into lunch, and in the afternoon, we try to go outside and get some playtime outside. In the backyard or just in the front yard and things like that.
Got it. Hey, Eunice, share with the audience a little bit of all your different hats that you wear each day.
Oh my goodness. So the one hat that I'm most proud of is that I am an author of the Mama What If book series. This is a book that I published last year, Mama What If book number 1. And this is Mama What If book number 2. This one is called The Pirate Treasure. And this one is actually going to launch next week, Thursday, May 7th.
Good.
You can find this on my website on www.mightyfortresspress.com. And this is a book that I've been working on the past year. It's a pirate adventure, but it's not your normal adventure. It's not your ordinary adventure, because before this brother and sister duo who become pirates and go off on an adventure to find hidden treasure, their mom gives them a magic hat to help them on their way. And so what's special about the magic hat is that in different circumstances, when they're faced by cunning eels or a giant squid or stinging jellyfish, they wear the magic hat, and the magic hat basically says a scripture verse. And the scripture verse is based on Joshua 1:9, be strong and courageous, do not be afraid, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. And so in different circumstances in this adventure, they wear the hat, they're reminded of this wonderful Bible verse that helps them to navigate to the right path.
Yeah, yeah. Now, it's a second book in the Mama What If series. How do you, we've talked about this before, how do you get inspirations on what book to write? Like, how did the Pirates theme emerge?
The Pirates theme emerged because I have a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old, and a lot of my inspiration does come from them. And they did, go through sort of like, pirate stage and things like that. And the background, it being like a sea adventure, I just thought that it would be something that a lot of readers would really cling on to and really attach themselves to.
Got it. And even the first book was based upon conversations that you had with your son and daughter too, right?
I did, yes. The first one was based on a conversation with my son, and it's basically it's to encourage imagination, and they go to space and makes them big and small. And in the second book, I'm really excited to introduce a sister character. So that's really exciting that you have a brother and sister story, and a lot of little girls can also see themselves in the story as well.
Now, Eunice, did you have an idea that you wanted to be an author? Did it come accidentally? How did you get on that track to moving from politics to now becoming a children's book author?
Yeah, it didn't. It's not like I sat, on my desk one day and I was like, I want to be an author. I was in the car with my son and we were talking and the conversation was really free flowing. And I ended up writing that conversation that we had on a piece of paper. And I read it to him as his bedtime story. And my husband, who was walking by and he heard the bedtime story, he was like, that's a really, cute story. You should think about actually publishing the book. And so at that moment, the seed was planted in my heart, deep in my heart, and I couldn't shake that thought out of my head. I stayed up till 3 a.m, how to publish books, and it just continued to grow. It didn't stop, but it just continued for each step to unfold along the way, and it eventually led me to publish my book, to find an illustrator, to get it printed, and to set up my own publishing company. And website, and step by step, I just really feel like God, he opened up the doors to make this really happen. And I was really excited when it hit #1 on Amazon too.
Yeah.
Children's categories, and the plan is to try to get this one, with everyone's support, to get this one to also hit #1, hopefully.
Now, is the goal eventually you'll just keep doing everything under the Mama What If series and do a 3rd book or 4th book based upon different things?
Oh my goodness, thank you so much for asking. Yes, this is, I plan to have a Mama What If book #3.
Good.
And I really like how the first book had Christian values, but wasn't overtly Christian. It doesn't incorporate like a scripture. But the second one, it took a lot of faith, but I just feel like I decided to want to go that route because that was the story. That was the message that, unfiltered, that was the story that I really wanted to tell, to encourage young people that, whatever hardships, whatever challenges and that may come their way, that they can be strong, that they can be courageous, and they don't have to be afraid because of knowing that this peace comes from God, that wherever they go, God is with that person. And so this is a Bible verse that actually my mom gave to me when I went on my first missions trip to India in college. And it gave me so much strength that I wanted to instill this Bible verse and gift it to my own son and daughter, and to the next generation of young kids, that they can take it with them throughout their childhood, teenage, college, young adult years, and for the rest of their life.
Yeah. Now, another thing is, you mentioned that you started a publisher. Why Mighty Fortress Press versus going to an existing publisher? What made you decide to start your own publishing firm?
Oh my goodness. Like you, Tommy, I'm a self-starter. I'm highly motivated. I like to get things done very quickly. When I did my research, I found that if you wanted to go through a traditional publisher, you do have to find a literary agent, and it takes time for it to submit your manuscript to different publishing companies. And it can take up to 2 years. Did you know that? And so for me, I just knew that this was a story that I wanted to, give to different families and have that available. And so I got it done in 5 months from start to finish. Yes.
Good. And what are some of the things that, like, for those who don't understand, have never written a book now, and then now you're also an entrepreneur that started public, what went on? Do you have an idea of a book? Then you sit down with someone who draws and designs, and then you guys just hash it out right there. What entails in writing a book?
Oh my goodness, it entails a lot. It's a lot of back and forth, and you need a really good, after you write the story, and it's really interesting. Once you write the story, right, you have to make sure even like where you want the story to be on the left side versus the right side, and then the turning experience. Once you turn the book, what's the next thing that pops up that's kind of a surprise instead of giving it away on the next page? So you have to think about the turning the page experience as well, right?
Why left or right?
Say that again?
When you put pictures on the left and right, why does that matter?
Yeah, just the turning the page experience really matters.
Really? Oh, okay.
Like one of the pages that is my favorite in the book is let's say here, right? The sharks are coming, right? Yeah. But the magic hat, usually they have to put it on, so it recites the Bible verse, right?
Got it.
Here it flies away, so it looks like she's like, I'm doomed, like, we're not going to be able to get away from this circumstance. But then the brother says, wait, we don't need the magic hat. Do you remember what it says? And they both say, yes. And they recite the Bible verse. So they don't rely on the magic hat anymore. So what is the next page? It's like the next page is like very important, right? This turning the page experience. The next page is that boom, God shows up.
Yeah.
To them that even though the sharks were coming, God comes in the form of a wave and unbeknownst to them, blocks them and protects them. And so the little girl said, I can't explain it, but I feel like God is helping us. And the only person who's a witness to God really showing up is this little crab down here that says, wow, God to the rescue, right?
Got it.
So the next page, the turning experience is very important. And when creating your book. And once you write the words on the page, like you have an idea of what you want to see in terms of the illustration, and you find an illustrator that can help you bring that book alive. And once the illustrations are made, then you have to design the book in a way, and the book cover, creating the book cover and the back cover, and just making sure the title is big enough and that your name is big enough and that it fits the specifications of the printing. All those things do come into play, but it's very doable, very doable.
Now, I've also noticed that this book, it seems like it's a soft cover compared to your first book, which was a hardcover.
Yes, that's so, you said it. Like the first book, it is a hardcover. It was meant for slightly younger children, 2 to 6 years old. This is for 2 to 8-year-olds. It is also much longer. It's 56 pages versus this is 45 pages.
Yeah.
And this is, and also, this happened before COVID. It was in 2019, released in 2019. But with COVID, the idea was that we can make it soft cover, which means that the cost of production would be lower, the price, and so we can make the price point lower so that we can make it more accessible to different families who want to bring home the book.
Got it. Now, are you hoping to create Mighty Fortress Press? By the way, for those who are interested, the website is mightyfortresspress.com. That's mightyfortresspress.com. Are you hoping eventually to bring in other authors and help other authors publish their books, children's books, adult books, things like that?
Right now, I am it's an independent publishing company, which also means for me that I only publish my own books at the moment. So I've been publishing The Mama What If, so I have plans to publish a third one in the series. I'm also going to publish, actually, I finished a dissertation when I was at USC, and so I'm actually in the process of editing that book to make it into a paperback about Korea's national language policy. I know it's a bit academic and a bit boring compared to children's books, but it's something that I've worked hard on a long time. It's a manuscript that I do have that's ready to go, and so I am working on that, and I'll be publishing that later this year as well. And I'm also looking into actually creating some Korean language teaching books for young children, because I find that a lot of the Korean language teaching books, textbooks for children, especially who are in kindergarten, and these books are imported a lot of times from Korea. It's too hard. It's too difficult. It's way above their level. And I think it'll be good if we rewrite it, with the illustrations, it being, kind of American, right? Like what we grew up with, even the drawings from Korea, it's something, there's a disconnect, I feel like. And even the directions on how to, fill out the forms or do the workbooks, or the instructions are, not in perfect English. Do you know what I mean? I don't know, just for me, there was a bit of a disconnect. So I'm working with someone else on creating those Korean language books as well.
And then Eunice, you run a nonprofit organization. You're also teaching. Are you able to talk a little bit about each of those?
Yes. I am teaching at a local community college, and it's located in an inner city. Mm-hmm. And so I'm teaching in a part-time capacity there. So it's been really great. I've been really honored to be a part of that and to encourage the next generation of students concepts of political science. With that, I also am the president of the Asian American Freedom PAC, which is a political action committee. So we help raise money to particularly for those who are represented in politics. So we do support a lot of Asian American candidates, conservative candidates who want to run for office as well.
Got it. Are more and more, do you feel like more and more Asian Americans are interested in politics, or is that something they still need to work on?
I feel like a lot of Korean Americans, a lot of Asian Americans too, are starting to run for office. Some of the congressional candidates that I've seen include Young Kim in Orange County, also Michelle Park-Steele from Orange County. Another congressional candidate is Jane Cutter. We had, so many different people, Elizabeth Heng in Northern California. So there is some interest there. I also feel like a lot of Asian Americans are happy with just making money and providing for their family and not really being involved, and just sort of apathetic, and maybe they're turned off by politics. But I find that, politics, if you are not engaged or if you don't keep up, especially, as a Christian, some of these politicians will make a lot of policy that will impact our children, especially education curriculum that is hostile to Christian principles and Christian values. So it's important to stay involved and to a certain degree.
Now, Eunice, we've talked, I listened to everything that you're doing. And for those who are listening, they may be younger leaders who are trying to figure out what their calling is. At what point did you realize that, man, I love writing books, but I also love politics, but I also love teaching? Is there a thing that combines it all together that says, this is who God has created me to be, and this is what I love doing? Eunice? There you are, Eunice. We lost you. Hey, the question that I was asking you is, Eunice, for those who are listening on this broadcast, who are trying to figure out what their calling is, how did you figure out what your calling is? From politics, teaching, writing of books, is there there's a theme that involves everything that you do, or how do you discern what that calling is in your life?
In 2016, after I graduated from USC for graduate studies, I did go through sort of like a midlife crisis. Like, oh my goodness, I've been studying for the past 30 years of my life and haven't really had like a full, like a real job, and been working on my dissertation and my PhD for the past 8 years, right? And I didn't have any real life experience, like a real job. And so I found getting a job was really difficult for me, to be honest. And I just felt like out of touch. I was just like a student, and I had this degree, but what is it worth, right? Like if you've just been a student. And for me, I don't know, I just feel like that was something that had to take place, because that opened up an opportunity where I was able to work on a congressional political campaign. Yeah. And while I was on the congressional political campaign, when it was wrapping up, then I had this opportunity to teach at a local community college. So I started doing that as well. And during the campaign, when I was in the campaign, I met so many ambitious people. And that's when, I had this wonderful story that was growing in my heart that I wanted to share with the world, the first Mama What If book. And I was like, oh my goodness, I can do this. Like, I just think the energy of the people around me also was like, oh, we can do it. We can get it done. And so for me, I would just say, like, for those that feel like they've been in school for a long time, those who feel out of touch or sort of not knowing where to go, I just feel like when I took that first step, then in taking that first step, in faith, it starts opening up a whole lot of different doors. And from there, you just run with it, and you figure out, and I think it comes with age too. Like, now that I've hit, in my mid 30s, like, what you want, and what works for you and what works for your family. Yeah. You also have to consider the family and work-life balance. And so all those things wrapped up together.
Got it. Hey, a couple last questions. Torrance, have you lived in Torrance for a long time?
Yes, I'm a Torrance girl.
Tell me about Torrance. Like, I'm not familiar about Torrance. And for some of the people, they may live in Santa Monica, they may live in downtown. Tell me about Torrance. What is unique about Torrance and the makeup of Torrance?
Okay, so Torrance has a really big Asian American population because it's near Gardena as well. Yep. Gardena has a huge, the history behind Gardena has a huge Japanese American sort of, I think that's where the internments, occurred and things like that. We have the beaches, Manhattan, Redondo, Hermosa Beach, to the west. We are located, southwest of Los Angeles. And so we're not hit with like Los Angeles traffic. We're sort of like, just this nice, medium-sized city. And there's a lot of great ethnic foods that you can eat in the South Bay in Torrance. You have the ocean breeze coming in, and you don't have the LA traffic. You have great schools, so it's a really great place to live for families.
Got it. Church? What church do you attend?
I attend Torrance First Presbyterian Church.
Got it. Now, is that more of a mixed church, Asian American, Korean church?
I would say it's a multi-generational Korean church. Yeah.
Again, for those
Korean speaking ministry, and then you have like the fully second, those who only speak English. So you have like a coexisting symbiotic relationship in the church going on.
I totally understand what you're saying. I grew up in a Chinese church. I worked as a pastor of a Korean church for 3 years. For those who are listening who do not understand life in a multi-generational Korean church, tell me what that is like.
Okay, so so I attend church with my parents, which is really great, and they only speak Korean. And if you go to a multi-generational church, one of the perks is you get a lot of Korean food because you have a lot of the immigrants who volunteer a lot of their time to even cook Korean food. And then during VBS time, the EM, the English ministry, we step up for the KM, for the Korean ministry side, because we run all the VBS, programs in English and things like that. And so those who immigrate or immigrants from Korea or have they bring all their kids. And so we really do. It's like this. Yeah. And come Easter or come Christmas, right? We have English, we have it in Korean, and then you have the English, translation that goes on. And yeah, it's just a whole crazy fun mess that goes on.
It is a unique culture, but it is the one thing is after service, you're sitting in service, you always smell the food. You know that everyone's cooking for lunchtime, and you're gonna have a Korean soup, but then Christmas and Easter and Thanksgiving, the spread comes out.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Hey, thank you very much. And again, you could buy the book at mightyfortress.com, right?
Yes, mightyfortresspress.com. The first book is available there. The second book is going to launch on May 7th. You can also find these books also on Amazon as well. But yeah, come check it out. And I hope to have this book as a great resource for a lot of families out there.
Thank you very much. And we're going to have you on to talk more when the third book comes out as well too, Eunice.
Yes, thank you very much.
We'll talk soon.
Okay, sounds good. Bye.